that part done.
I just had two old guys that are gone now, but I had coffee with them quite a bit. They'd always try to teach me a Norwegian
I
phrase.
haven't heard much of it since my great grandma died.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agendas presented.
I'll second it.
Motion by Terry, second by Bill to approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Kevin?
I've got, now Watt, K2, or Kevin has been here 6 months. Gave him his 6-month review. He's been doing a really good job for us. And I came in to ask if I could give him a 50-cent raise. I think Carl would agree. He's been doing an outstanding job.
And this is something that you most regular, 50-cent raises
After 6 months, it's kind of standard through the
Standard.
courthouse from what I've seen since I've been here, so yeah.
I have no problem with it.
And before you were full-time, you were part-time for how long?
Since 2015.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a problem with it.
No, it is.
It'll go from 1525 to 15. So.
We probably should have that one weekend. That should be a motion.
Well, it's
We are in charge of it.
not actionable today.
No.
We can just approve it later when he brings it out.
Okay, so I should,
I don't know.
You can bring the document then, yeah.
all right, okay, I'll have that there, and we'll put that on the agenda for next week then. Perfect. Alrighty, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, you good? Keep up the good work.
Yep, I will, thank you.
Today we're meeting. Public hearing.
March 6th at 10 a.m.
I have a motion for such.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for the county fiscal year 2019 budget for March 6th at 10 o'clock.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to have the public hearing for the county budget, March 6th, 10 a.m. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You have reached Scott Minders, County Engineer. Please leave.
Jump up to 8 or 9, get that out of the way.
Is the weather changing? National records today.
It's gonna warm up. Usually that's when it feels better.
So let's see, we have some different transfers now.
Yeah, we are transferring, since we're done with Public Safety Center, when we were waiting for that $360,000 from WCTA. We transferred some money from the sheriff's funds to take care of some of that, so we're just moving that back now that that's all done with.
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's transfers.
I'll second it.
Motion by Terry, second by Bill to approve the auditor's transfers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Disregard my text.
Okay,
Yeah, Scott?
Morning.
What do you got on?
Just one thing to note, I guess we got
Some of that.
No.
sign inspection going on right now, so we got a couple guys working into the evening, or from the evening into the night, doing nighttime sign inspection. One thing, if you happen to see a county truck with lights on around the county, that's what they're up to.
At night?
At night, yeah.
Are we checking the sign reflection, is that it?
We're required to do it every 2 years, so what we're doing is half the county every year. Kind of a tedious process, but give us a good idea of what quality of our signs looks like, so we have a better plan for replacement.
Is it information and traffic control type signs?
We are doing everything, regulatory warning signs. We have all the conservation signs in there, speed limit, all informational signs. We have markers for all of our survey monuments, street name signs, everything pretty much that you think of except for the address markers.
I was just gonna say, address markers too.
Yeah, I mean, those we typically, in the past, we've replaced them blanket, so you don't really need to check on each one because they'd all be the same as each
The
other.
red ones show up pretty good.
Yeah, they
And they
do.
just got redone.
Right, a couple of years ago, yeah.
The only reason I ask is every time I go towards the interstate, 105, and where the county, there's that one county conservation sign that's just horrible.
Yeah, I mean, ours are mostly, I would say mostly pretty poor too. I actually don't know.
So whose cost is it for the county conservation signs, yours or the county conservation?
Boy, a little history lesson. The county conservation signs, the brown ones on the highways, around the blacktops. Put those up and who paid for them?
Conservation. I mean, we kind of work with them. Sometimes we put them up, but they pay.
Put you on the spot there.
I waited till he came in to ask.
Yeah, he's got the history on his
Yeah,
side.
I guess once we get through it, we can easily isolate those and give a report to Robert just so he knows what they look like.
Not a big deal.
Other than that, I don't have too much.
Last snow, not the TV.
Last snow event, yeah. Hopefully the last one we get, right? Pretty early to be hoping for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but you can always hope.
It's been too cold to give any substantial snow with any weight to it. Well, it's gonna warm up, so.
Yeah.
You gotta get through the girls' basketball tournament. After that, it's over with.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually waits until then to have that blizzard that way.
That's all I have.
Bill,
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
that's it?
Made it through, first, Carly made it through 2 and 3 already, or
Yeah,
when is the,
This is Chris.
We're ready for
March
drainage.
6th.
Okay.
Okay.
Here is the notice to proceed for DD1 Lat 2 with Corey Juergens. So if I could have you guys sign. Maybe. That one up here. Paper clip.
For new one there.
Well, it's.
Sue's gonna be making
This
new
was a
copies.
prototype.
Oh,
Yeah.
The other one's buried in there somewhere. How you come not updating?
It's Sue's ready to print, just when she gets some time.
So by the time we print is when we'll find one more.
I'm only gonna have her print 10.
that's a little while.
Alright, thank you. I don't have anything for drainage besides number 6.
Other than drainage, I guess. Move on to number 6. DD 89.
On east central.
It's down a little bit. Oh. Oh, where are we? Oh, that's me. Up here.
Oh, it's first.
I was looking at that corner over there, it's like, no, I wasn't there.
There's the head title, usually that's at the top.
Oh.
That's why this is the prototype.
Yeah. I just thought you were saying there's some items here.
So it's west.
Nope, it's east. So they have, the NRCS has a wetland, a pretty good sized wetland there already that's been there for some time. It's on the old Rudy Munson farm, if you're familiar with that. And they've apparently got agreements with like Blair Holton and surrounding property owners. They would like the district to meet with them, whoever wants to do that. So they can get an idea anyway for what the district will allow them to do before they do a bunch of engineering and so on. So they would like whoever to come up to their office and meet with their engineers and just kind of walk through what they'd like to do. And
Where's that
Thompson.
Towards Nelson's.
Yeah.
I think Nelson's live in this area, so to be just kind of let us know.
at? Would be there.
I don't care. I don't care.
Are we set a date or?
They just prefer later in the week, probably a couple weeks from now.
Yeah, because I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks, so.
Why don't you call? When
I'll call
you
Lynn.
Come back and are ready.
And then do you want to be there too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And did you want to be there too?
Yes.
Okay.
And Friday, yeah, on the 23rd, I have Board of Health, but that's done usually by 9:30, so.
And I won't be back until after March 5th,
Okay, all right.
so
You
we'll
just
set it
call
up
me
then.
then.
Okay. Yep.
And whoever, if anybody else wants to come.
I'll just send an email to you guys and let you know when it will be and so. Okay, sounds good. All right.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Wind turbines.
I didn't know if you guys really wanted this on the agenda or not, but
They get some phone calls.
I got some emails. so.
One of the concerns they're having is that they're gonna have fewer turbines because they didn't get as much ground as they wanted, but they're gonna go ahead, there's probably only gonna be 40 some turbines in Winnebago County. But what they're doing is they're going with the really big ones. And there's some questions on whether the setbacks need to be further for these huge turbines. Units are so big.
Is that in our requirements? The higher it goes, the farther setback?
I would assume it would be in there. Blades are.
Remember, ours is a special use
So
code and it's not specified, so it's really up
Whatever
to
we
you and them
wanna
to
set.
negotiate.
They're gonna be just below the five, they'll be like 498 feet. Because if you go above 500, then you gotta go through all kinds of hoops with,
Aviation.
yeah, there you go, yeah. But, and it's, yeah, he's been in communication with him, and then, about, I can't say his name now, and Teresa here a week or so ago, and visited about the process, and then making sure that we have a contract similar to worse. We have one already, like a right-of-way for, where they use the secondary roads, and then what's required of them, and to keep out the roads if they tear them up and stuff.
How does that Board County one compare to the one we've been using?
It is quite different, I would say. The one that we used was, I don't remember who wrote that, drafted based on a kind of a Cassuth County one, if I remember right. It was more tailored toward protecting the drainage districts and making sure that they were paid a fee and given the rights and everything to make sure they could make repairs and all that kind of stuff. Didn't really speak a whole lot to roads, so after that was developed and approved, then we worked with ITC to get a plan for haul routes and stuff like that, a little bit of some unwritten agreements there that we've been working through, and it's been working fine. With this one, since I don't really know them and everything, I think it would be good to have a road agreement in place. And so the Worth County one, I think, could be easily pared way down to the road parts.
So you were comparing it to the ITC permitting?
Yeah, their easement permit.
How about the previous turbine? Did you ever look into those? Did we not have enough into it?
I'm not sure what.
I think through years of doing it, I'm guessing that
I know
Worth County probably hasn't done.
we're good to work with, some not. There's 3 different ones.
Then one little one was, I don't
Yeah.
remember it was the one that wasn't as good to work with.
So I guess I don't know the answer to that test mark.
That's what I understood. Well, I think if anything we can do to protect the county roads.
And then, as far as easements across the drainage lines, the one we made for ITC, where they had to pay so much possibly for each line they crossed, or we haven't, was that, just kind of a county-wide, no matter what, or was that just for ITC?
That was ordinance we said.
For the whole, so no matter, so these guys here will have to abide by the
We
same.
also discussed if we so choose on any individual project for utilities, there's always that waiver possibility, but we gotta look at what's in the best interest of the drainage district too.
I don't think that was an ordinance.
It wasn't ordinance, it was resolution.
I don't know what it was, but I don't think it was I know it wasn't an ordinance.
Okay.
It was,
I know I went through a lengthy process with it.
but was it just for ITC, or was it for anybody?
And I think it was just for ITC.
We discussed it was that it's gonna be reflective on all utilities, but not all utilities are gonna create the problems that.
For
that ITC does.
But Teresa and I, when we were talking about it there, both of us for some reason remembered that it was for anybody, but I'm not confident on my memory, so.
I just remember that we discussed that it was gonna reflect on all utilities, but, you know, say a WCTA has a trenching project that goes through, it's not gonna be as invasive as what
Yeah,
some of
you're
this
not gonna
is.
have near the weight.
We don't really,
I can look into it, but
But yeah, I understood it was for any larger projects that were outside of the right-of-ways. And we, of course, had a utility permit for projects in the right-of-way that we still use, and that's much simpler than that form. But yeah, I had remembered that you'd approve that permit form as to be applicable to more than just ITC. But I think the only thing that was approved was ITC's, you know, permit. So that form is out there, just.
Well, I know the farmers got together and they have it in their individual contracts as far as the easements are concerned. Just, was able to look at one from Doug.
was that for the private tiles or for the district tiles?
Both.
I guess until I can see something like that, then.
do you want me
But
to
that doesn't, we still have to have one.
Yeah.
put it on the agenda to make an ordinance for the county, or?
I don't know, or just address this one as we move forward, I mean. We need to.
Well, the individual contracts with the farmers would be a good one to follow. That was pretty thorough. They're given great leeway in what they can do to go through the easement, and the farmer is. So,
So it's more of an easement and access.
basically for title. And one of their biggest concerns was exploration in case, so that they could find where ITC, well, not ITC, but the utility maybe had crushed the tiles. So that was the biggest thing for the farmer.
And they record easements on all of, are you talking the wind?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and the electric line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get all kinds of recordings when they come up.
Yeah.
You get a little busy, huh?
Yes.
Better address that first. And I would talk with Mark and see if there's anything special that you guys would want.
The way it's working with ITC, they're taking care of the roads during the project and plowing snow if they need to. And I mean, it's been cold, obviously, so the roads aren't taking too much of a beating, but it's been going good so far.
They went out and sprayed dust control stuff by everybody's acreages on their route. And then they went out and, it's not the same color as our gravel, it's red, but when there was ice, they went out and threw, at the intersections, they threw red gravel all over the place so they wouldn't be slipping and sliding. And they've done a pretty good job of taking care of stuff so far.
It's ITC.
Yeah.
I'm talking that project might be complete by the end of the year.
ITC.
So we gotta be on the tax rolls.
I was kind of surprised that they were, with the need for transmission lines, that they would leave the other existing line there. But they took all the wires down there. They were remove the poles too, or?
Well, so the original thing they talked about was those wires would be at the bottom of the poles, and their wires would be at the top of the poles.
Yeah, so they're gonna eliminate all the, because that other one was, all the wires gone on it.
Partnership.
All with them and
Darren. there and have to establish route, so it's just much easier.
What is a highline wire made of? You know?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Plus it depends on if it's AC or DC.
It's AC. Takes a lot more wire to move DC. Because when they first started, that's what the electrical grid way back when, they were using DC. And you had to go to AC because you can move a lot more power with a lot less wire. Yeah, I've always wondered what kind of a metal they make it out of too. It's gotta be something that wears good.
I guess that's about all we can discuss in terms of we get more information.
Do you want me to put it back on the
They,
agenda? What do you want me to do?
Well, I'd like to see what we have in place already.
As far as ordinances go, the guy talked about,
Is it
Cassuth.
possible to copy that now?
We'll ask Chris.
The guy talked about Cassuth County's ordinance.
Yeah.
Found that there was a lot of holes in that. As far as it was actually really easy for EDF to work with. So it didn't have the teeth in it that then some people thought or something. Which Matt probably had more control of, special use improvements.
It wouldn't necessarily have to be a public hearing. Maybe we should contact the route line and meet with some of the landowners. The route line for what we're discussing here, for either doing an ordinance or whatever we do, but listen to their concerns too.
Their main concern right now, the group that's against it, some of them just don't want it, because they never had them, they don't want it. And the ones that are, concerned, airplane wise and stuff, they're just concerned that they're getting big. That's how they're gonna get around not getting enough land is to go for the big ones.
They talked about a certain setback for that size turbine. When they go to the bigger turbine, they have a different number. They're going by, or they're using the same number.
I did not ask him that question, but maybe a question to ask. Because that part of it, he told me the size of the turbines, but I did not realize that they were that much bigger.
Were they 2s before, they're going to 2.5 or something?
3.2s or 3.3s, something like that.
It was 2.5 before. I think the ones we already have down there are probably 2.
Is that what they are?
Yeah, 2.5 maybe.
So if they're gonna be that big, they're gonna even be bigger and heavier for going across drainage lines too, what they're open drains.
I always have to worry about the trenching of the cable too.
Well, I guess just put it on the agenda. Okay, we good? Yep.
Alrighty.
Chris is gonna bring over that
Okay.
when she gets.
You want, the guy from EDF, you want him here, or just
I think the only question
farmers
we have is the setbacks now, the bigger ones.
Yeah, and they could probably simply ask about that email that came through. Because he was on that email between you and Teresa.
Matt,
Do we want to publish a public hearing for it? I would think we just get a hold of the guys that's on that route.
yeah, as Matt mentioned in the email, you gotta go through public hearings for the special use permit, so you'll get some exposure there.
Do you want to contact that guy that
Okay. Move on to open forum.
I had a question about the county attorney process. Are the interviews being set, or it'd be really nice if the department heads could maybe sit in on the interviews, just so we can get notified.
Public hearing,
Okay.
public meeting.
We've allowed the sheriff to ask questions too.
Yeah, I know other counties do it that way. The department heads are,
That would be prudent, I think.
Well, you guys all gotta work on it,
that's right.
or her,
Right.
depending on the case.
It's gonna be an open meeting, so
Okay. Thanks.
We'll take a recess for half an hour.
Oh, I guess that's a good time for you to ask questions. I heard from Ashley Stewart that Hancock County voted yesterday to allow Blake Norman to serve as special prosecutor in Winnebago in Adam's absence. So I was wondering, is that something you had to approve as well, or it's just up to them to approve
It'll
that?
be on the agenda next week.
Oh, okay, thank you. And where are you on you just haven't got any candidates yet, have you, for actually replacing Adam? I think I figure it's probably too early to even get any applications, but.
Our application process, we will quit taking applications on February 16th.
Okay. When do you anticipate you might be ready to interview some candidates?
February 20th.
Oh, okay. That's when you plan to interview some of them. And that's a public, like they said, that's a public, open meeting. Okay.
We have more applications.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Looks like on this one, you can stick anybody's name in there.
We maybe need to amend this. Does this thing go through any trustee drainage?
well, they have their own. We
They did their own?
Yeah, like over by
Oh,
Ruben's
that's
place, they did their power login. Told me that they
Okay.
got one. Do we want to go back into session and discuss this document? As part of the.
I haven't read it yet, so
Yeah, well, I mean, we can look at it and discuss it,
Yeah.
and go back into session.
let's read it. And if we want to, we'll go back in. Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Lots of people in orange suits out there today.
Yeah, Dave brought in 3 of them when I was coming in.
There's more now.
Oh, there, eh? One was a little gal. I was just like, what the hell did she do? She ain't big enough to do. She could make it do a lot of damage with the girls. Yeah, evidently, yeah. Well, especially if you're being a little bit dishonest. They were in college, and they threw the shirt right off the back. Oh, there. Yeah. Like an idiot, I just sat there and laughed. Made worse, yes. Yeah. Are these ones you forgot?
I don't know if they're from last week or what they are, but she said they needed stamped and signed, so.
Let's just throw them under the last week's. It's not on the agenda.
I'm guessing that they're from
Yeah.
and that didn't even make sense.
The 6th.
13th.
6th, yeah, you see last week.
Oh, last week, yeah, sorry.
Are you? You guys meet every Monday or every week?
Tuesday.
This week?
Yep.
Very good. Morning.
Morning.
How are you guys?
Got any better, we couldn't stand it.
I hear you.
Yeah, there you go.
It's still winter.
Yeah, man, we love
That's good. That's good. I'm Kyle Mertz with True North.
Bill Jensvold.
Good to meet you.
Mike Stenzer.
Good to meet you. Good to see you guys.
Cohort of yours, Danielson.
Yeah. I was with them yesterday. We were up in Humboldt for some meetings all day. It's a good Iowa State boy. He just joined us earlier last year, I guess May, June, and doing risk management stuff.
Morning.
Good morning. He played with one or...
Well, I can't remember, but my youngest son, who would played with him, knows him real well. I don't know if he goes to the same church as him.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in Ankeny there.
Yeah.
That's what it was. How things going for you guys?
Get better. Oh, it's not bad. There's very little in life that is truly tragic.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm in my 9th year on the city council in Altoona, and somebody early on always said that, the perceived perception is never as bad as it really is. I learned really early on to
For sure,
step back and think about it for a minute.
don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all the small stuff. It's pretty true. I didn't know that. I don't understand like 10. 30%, but then we get it all back beyond that. Yeah, that's what it ends up being back down.
That's another section.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys stream all your meetings? And you do it on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
How does that, is it just a dedicated YouTube channel, or how does?
You have to ask our IT guy.
Yeah, that's really simple. I mean, that's really easy to watch.
Yeah, it's been,
Need to
I'm
figure
really
out.
happy it happens. I got paid for radio.
I hear you. But we should start thinking about doing something like that. We don't have any open access TV or anything, but it was easy to watch, that's for sure. A lot easier than some.
he wanted to put them on Facebook too, and I leave it on one.
Yeah, I'm not quite familiar with, my wife's on Facebook. I leave it up to her. Post pictures of the kids.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you guys? Hey, Jim Willis. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Brittany Grow, nice to meet you.
How you guys doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. Glad it's not snowing.
Oh my gosh, I know, I
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
just said that to Jim on the way up. I'm like, she goodness, we've got good weather.
Yeah,
We've got good
alright.
weather. Yeah.
Where'd you come from? Waverly.
Waverly.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
What about you?
Des Moines.
Okay.
Easy drive.
Yeah.
I was in Des Moines yesterday at a meeting with the Secretary of State. It was fun.
Always are.
We're discussing legislation to combine the city and school elections. And I got selected to be on the group that helps come up with the legislation.
You want to be back?
Sue gave me one of this, what the code section that allows, or how they pay their taxes.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
What are you, Nikki?
I am, yes. Nice, Carla.
Yes.
Sarah Dickinson.
Hi, Sarah.
Nice to meet you all.
You too.
A beautiful Iowa frozen morning.
Yeah.
It's not below zero anyway.
Yeah.
No, yeah, so it's balmy.
Yeah.
Forecast is decent, so.
Yeah.
It's warming
not
this
snowing.
weekend.
Yeah.
43. Yeah, get some of that snow going.
I stopped her and had lunch with Haley last night, and she said, "Oh, if it starts to melt, Ames is going to be flooded. There's
Well, they
no
got a lot of
place
snow down
for
there.
their water to go."
My
And
daughter had a volleyball tournament in Marshalltown on Sunday,
Oh,
and.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
My daughter has volleyball tournaments too. I know your pain.
yeah. And they were all going down the day before to get motel rooms down there. Well, then they postponed the girls' basketball game from Thursday night to Saturday night, so then she also plays basketball. Two of them play basketball. The rest of them all got to go down there and have fun and swim in the pool and all that, and then the two that play basketball got punished. We got down there 20 after 11. We were trying the motel rooms.
Just in time to go to sleep.
Yeah, no.
Right.
So,
I'll tell you what, I have a 14-month-old, so I'm not in that yet, but someday, but the folks in our office that have kids, all weekend, every weekend, whether it's wrestling or basketball or baseball, you name it. When I was a kid, you had games here and there, but now it's just a full-blown dedication for the whole family the whole week.
one graduated, but at one time I had 4 kids and 4 sports, and they all had different schedules. So then,
Everything was on the calendar, you're going this way.
yeah,
buy a packer.
the ones, my wife would go to the one that was home. Some of them, 2 of them may not have a parent there, and then I would go to whichever one I drove the school bus to, so.
I made it work.
You guys haven't lived until you've sat at a gymnastics meet all day to watch a kid perform for 15 seconds.
That's
It's kind of like dance, isn't it? I think it's the same thing.
Or cross country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you gotta be in shape to watch that, because you gotta
Right.
get them up and down each fairway,
You rent a cart.
Well, no, I thought about bringing my cart with me, I'd, put it on my trailer and bring it
Trail
with.
feeding.
Yeah. I'd have to put a hitch on the bus, so I usually drove the bus.
I just have to.
Yeah. Segue,
Yes,
whatever,
yeah.
Yeah, that would, you bring that on the bus and just set it in the seat.
You haven't had a Dan's son, Lutheran professor in Wartburg.
Well, the
The name sounds familiar.
I know he's
I
one of
think
my,
I
one of my
had
best
him.
friends, yeah.
Oh, really?
Family.
What
I
is
think
he,
he's
what department is he in?
maybe sociology or
Okay,
something like that.
okay.
He's been up there probably 5 or 6 years.
Huh.
My brother's the football coach, and
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
that
brother
name
played
sounds
for.
familiar.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh,
My
really?
home birth.
Huh. And we might have talked about that one time, now that
I
you say
think so,
that,
yeah.
that's, yeah.
He, I don't know if you ever run.
I realize that you get your.
I know their
Dan's
name,
great,
yeah.
His wife's
Once your
Simone's,
children start having
must be
children,
Spanish teacher in
and
high school.
Oh.
my folks watching them become
I just
parents is
actually-
the most amazing thing
Interestingly,
Yeah.
I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
It's basically
no,
like my gift
but
to
my
them.
wife also was a worker, and she deals with students with disabilities.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, she was saying, hey, well, I met this really nice professor.
Yeah,
His
it's,
wife actually teaches Spanish at the
Yeah,
high school.
Taking care of you someday, yeah. All those volleyball tournaments, man, those
Always
could pay off, you never know.
Kid or what, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he seemed like a great guy. His wife teaches Spanish. I was gonna see
Yeah.
our son's a senior, so he's gonna see.
And I've got her sister on the bus right now.
Small world.
They did-
She's
yeah.
assistant volleyball
They got
coach
three
Oh.
little kids.
at our school.
That's good.
I assume you know Brooke then, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep. My
yeah,
sister.
I've had her on the, she's coached my kids.
Oh, she has, yeah. Yeah, yep, so she's actually 20 weeks pregnant now. She's due in July, so she's not gonna be, she's putting the coaching aside, unfortunately, which she's a little sad about, but,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose it, taking all that time out to do the coaching when you got a
Right.
little one, it's not gonna be quite so easy.
right. So is that at North Iowa then?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, you know Micah then too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm wondering if she'll do the coaching herself or if they'll find somebody to fill Brooke's spot, but she was
Yeah.
sad to see it.
We usually have an assistant, I would guess, though.
Yeah.
We've got one parent that has been the coach in the past.
Okay.
Maybe she'll be the assistant.
Yeah, fill in, yeah. Huh, that's neat. What are your daughter's names?
Rebecca,
Okay,
Jensvold, and McKinsey.
okay. Yeah, I'll ask her.
One's a senior and the other one's a sophomore.
Okay.
They both got, the same girl from Belmont has taken my daughters out of the basketball games 3 times. She pulled Becca over backwards, she landed on her shoulder that she'd had surgery on when she was a sophomore.
Oh my gosh.
So she missed a few games with her shoulder all bruised. She had a big, huge, I thought we were gonna have surgery again, but it's
Some girl
getting
from
better.
Belmont?
Yeah.
Huh.
We call it the beast.
Better make a road trip.
And then in the next time we played them, she tripped Rebecca, and then
She's
Rebecca
out to
went
get
down.
Rebecca.
She went down, hit her head on the floor. She was driving to the basket and she stuck her foot. I saw the replay. She stuck her
Oh
foot
my
out too.
gosh.
Hit her head on the floor, got concussion, missed a week. And then earlier in that game, she had my daughter McKinsey, who was kind of built like a stick. She had the girl dislocated her elbow. She was dead. My arm popped twice. It says, yeah, once would have went out and once would have went back in. One girl, that's just like, oh.
There's always that one player though, from that one school that everybody in the conference
There's
or,
a beast
yeah,
everywhere.
and everybody,
The beast from Belmont, that's what we call it.
it's so funny. That's somebody you just gotta watch out for. You bet.
And she's followed all of both games. Of course, they recorded both of them, so I mean.
The enforcer.
Yeah.
And she sat out a good chunk of the first half of the one, because she had 3 fouls right away.
Oh man, it's tough. He's out there playing.
Where are you with, like Jill and Jennifer Elvison? What's your gap?
They weren't in high school with me, but they, I don't know, 15?
Do you remember going to Garner and watching the stop, drop, and roll gal?
No, I don't.
Almost every time up and down, she
Stop
faked
driving.
like she got fouled.
Really?
Oh, she was
See, when I-
Academy Award winner.
We nicknamed her stop, drop, and roll.
Really?
See, when I was in high school, so I didn't play basketball, but West Hancock was always the school that we had to, you maybe remember, that we had to watch out for.
Yeah.
They were always just super scrappy, and then I ended up rooming with a couple of the girls on the West Hancock team in college. And nicest girls, but you get them out on the basketball court. It's like,
Watch out.
Yep, watch out. So, yeah.
That was North Cedar for us.
North Cedar.
And they always beat the pants off us too.
See, there's always that one school. Yeah.
And the one that we had the most trouble with football-wise, when I was in school way back in the ancient days, was also Belmont.
Oh, really?
So I got told my kids, said, gee whiz.
What are they feeding those kids over there?
Yeah, right.
Huh.
I was visiting Jordan down at college when she was down there in Iowa State, went to Chicago pizza, whatever. The gal that was our waitress looks at Jordan and goes, did you play volleyball?
Yeah.
You're from Lake Mills, aren't you? She goes, yes. Why?
So,
You guys used to beat up on us all the
oh,
time.
no way. So where was the waitress
Belmont.
from? Oh, no. That's so true,
So what's going on in
I
Belmont?
mean,
I
she
know,
had
it's
great
like-
things to say about the
Right.
team. She says, we just couldn't even, we
Right.
just had to duck. She said,
Yeah.
Well, they beat us up physically, but we won both games.
Yeah.
I guess it was a silver lining.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's funny.
No, so I went to UNI and I played basketball all of my life, and so some of the girls that you played AAU with, and then against high schools in your conference or your districts or whatever, you meet them, and it's one of those things kind of like that, like, hi, Becca?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then it's like, I used to not like you. You know, and it's completely, like you said, completely different off the court. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I went to Mankato State, I ended up with a bunch of guys from neighboring towns. We all ended up living in a house together. All played all sports against each other. And,
It's funny how that works.
yeah, and we're all still friends now. So it's
Yeah.
That's great.
competitors and got over it, I guess.
That's right.
My sister, I got one sister that's 20 years younger than I am, and she went down to Houston and then started going to this huge church with her boyfriend, and then she got in a church league softball team and found out that on that same church league softball team was two of her classmates.
Oh, no
Not
way.
any one of them knew the other one was in Houston. How did they all end up in the same spot on the same team? It'd be
Wow, small world.
Thompson, Van Holt's daughter, Al Van Holt's daughter, and I got a really good memory, just doesn't last very long.
I hear that.
All right, it's 10 o'clock, let's get this show on the road. We've asked you guys to bring us a proposal for our healthcare needs, so we're just gonna have a good discussion here, I hope, and we'll open it up, and if there's anything, just go in order, whatever, doesn't matter. If there's anything you want to present first to us, besides what you've already done here, we can do that now. And otherwise, we'll just dive into some questions. So, is there anything that you guys want to present to us before we go into questions? Or besides this? Okay. All right, well, you guys got questions?
Well, I guess I'll start by saying, you know, I think all three companies are pretty impressive. Some larger than others. I guess the first question would be for each of you is your size of company. How do you think that's going to benefit our county and the people that participate in our benefits program?
I feel like Group Benefit Partners is probably the best of both worlds, I would say. We feel like we're big enough to have the amenities that some of the bigger shops have, but we're small enough and nimble enough that we like to have that local hometown feel. And so we pride ourselves on the employee education and, you know, that side of things that we think differentiates us. And so you might say we're not as big as some of the others, but in some ways we think that's actually an asset in the equation. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would, you know, echo, I think what Jim said a little bit. You know, True North was formed in 2001. At that point, we were $9 million in revenue. Since we've grown to about $75 million, 48th, I think, in the largest independent brokers in the country. But still, we have an entrepreneurial model of ownership. I'm a partner in our Des Moines office. To the same thing, kind of what Jim said, is the best of both worlds. We don't have any red tape to go through if we need to make decisions and act quickly on behalf of our customers. It gives us the scale to take the commission dollars that you guys pay us to work on your behalf and really reinvest in tools and resources to protect your people, to maximize the opportunities that you have. If you looked at our mission statement in there, it's to protect and maximize. That's why you provide benefits. It protects their financial future of your employees. And then with, really an HR department of one, it's imperative that we bring you the tools and resources and services to make Carla's job, as easy as possible. So I think we're large enough to provide you every, access to the market and all the carriers and be able to manage your account on that end, and also provide the efficiency to implement what we say we're going to.
That's a great point, Kyle. So as far as Cottingham and Butler is concerned, we are the 30th largest broker in the nation and have about 850 employees with our company. As far as our benefits division is concerned, and how we've grown, I guess, as a benefits department and a company is really organically. So we don't grow through acquisitions. We really grow with just servicing our clients very well and retaining them. We have, in the last year, I think we had about a 95-96% retention rate, which is something we're really proud of, because we do have those resources and that service model to really wrap our arms around those clients. Another part of that, too, is our expertise in the city-county industry, if you will. Specifically. So the way that kind of we work, Sarah, who is another senior benefits consultant at Cottingham and Butler, who's with me today, you really just find kind of that niche where who you work well with and what you're really interested and passionate about. And so although we are a large broker, we really have these specific areas that we work in and kind of expand upon. So to Kyle's point, we do have a lot of services at our fingertips, and we are a large consulting firm, but what benefit we can bring to you is that we have those extension of team members that we can wrap around Carla and Jane and her team, but also, again, those financial resources that we can help you with your ultimate goal related to your benefits program. I don't know, Sarah, if you have anything to add to that.
I think that, the RFP process is a necessary evil for many government entities, right? And we can tell you anything on a piece of paper. So really, I feel that I know that you asked for references. An RFP is full of a lot of fluffy stuff that really, at the end of the day, what does it mean to you? You want to take good care of your employees. You want to take good care of your taxpayers. And you want to take good care of Carla and the team to make sure that they don't pull their hair out with the wonderful world of insurance. So at the end of the day, I think that, the references that you call will give you really good, solid feedback. Most likely, probably, a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, Every partnership is different. There's no cookie cutter, right? So in working with Carla, it's going to be very different than any other county that we work with. And it should be, because your folks are different. So I think that's one way to set everyone apart is, call the folks that actually work with us.
Who would you consider the most important person in your company as far as we're concerned?
I'll go first. If you look at our RFP, I think what makes us potentially a little bit unique is the long-term strategy that we lay out for each of our customers. There's a 2-3 year strategy that we put in place that effectively maximizes and protects your bottom line. Like Nikki said and the rest, we can all perform very well in a written RFP. We all have very similar capabilities and tools and resources that we can deploy. As you look specifically at True North, that long-term strategy is really built around your goals and objectives, and at first taking that deep dive in discovery to figure out exactly what it is that you need. I'm responsible for driving that overall strategy. Instead of taking an account executive, account manager role that a lot of insurance brokers do We pick and pull specific individuals within our team to perform specific roles and responsibilities for our customers. So if you look at our 6 strategic areas of focus, you would have seen wellness and loss control and cost management, compliance, and all of the others. As we build your plan, we break each one of those out, and then we have specific people inside of that perform those duties. So obviously, there's a reactive component. Carla's going to have questions. Your employees are going to have questions. You want to be serviced properly and accordingly. That should be the blocking and tackling that should come with any relationship. But from an overall strategy perspective, I'm the one that leads all of that strategy. So at the end of the day, the buck stops with me on how we perform. Every year we sit down and go through an annual stewardship report with our clients to say, based on the scope of work and what we promised, have we done what we've done? And so I take full responsibility for the execution of our teammates and executing your plan and maximizing your resources. I hope I'm not the most important one, but I think I should be.
I'd say my point of view would probably be the most important person is the person you're talking to. Brittany's with me today, and she'll be the primary account manager that will deal with a lot of the day-to-day happenings. Both Brian and I and Brittany will work together from a strategic standpoint to do the quarterly reviews and to make the 3 to 5 year plan and help you be the best steward of the funds that you're deciding how to spend. But in reality, what needs to happen is that one-on-one employee engagement and dealing with issues as they may arise, and that person that you're talking to at that point will be the most important interaction. We make sure that you have access to that person.
Yeah, I would piggyback again off of both of their points with the most important person, which in our case is also your team. So no matter who is assigned to your account or is your quarterback or team lead, it doesn't really matter if we're not listening to what your initiatives are, your needs are, kind of where you want to move forward with your partner that you choose. So we have a team that we equip you with that are specialized in certain areas. So to Kyle's point, I am that quarterback. I'm the person that kind of gets that kick in the rear end if I'm not doing those duties. But we have account managers, we have compliance experts, we have benefit technology experts. We have all of those extended resources, but as far as your specific question on who's the most important, it's not me, it's myself and the account manager and the benefit service representative who are in your account every single day, where we can all have a conference call, one person pick up and say, okay, this is where we left off. Nikki, you're out of the office today, I'll take Carla's question or whatever it may be. So it's really a team approach on our end, so we can give you the best service possible moving forward.
I guess piggybacking on that then, I'll give you my opinion. I think the most important person is the agent we're going to be dealing with. And the reason I say that is your company is only going to be so good as far as what that agent reports back to you about our particular situation. So for your companies, do you have a dedicated person or the agent that's in charge? Do you have someone that tracks like coding? And I'll give you a little background on that is my wife's an insurance agent, especially in health, specialty in that. And this was probably, I'm not going to mention the hospital, it's a major one. She caught many miscoded procedures for a client, and it would have cost the client thousands of dollars. And so how would your companies address that?
Yeah, I would say is probably being engaged in that day-to-day activity is the way we'd catch and address something like that. An example I'd give, we had something similar happen in Waverly, where I'm from, with one of our clients in Waverly, where because of the size of Waverly, they brought in St. Paul Radiology to do the radiology testing. And so we found that those bills were actually going to out of network and not covered because St. Paul Radiology was out of network. So you went in for an x-ray at 6 o'clock tonight, you didn't know that the person reading your bill was in, St. Paul, but you got a bill for $180. So we identified that, called and made sure the hospital was aware of that, called and made sure our folks were aware of that, and really corrected that issue within a short time frame that not only helped our clients, but really helped, I'm gonna call it the Waverly community. The way we look at that, and we think it's important that Brittany is actually a local person that is very familiar with the landscape up here. And so knowing who the providers are and how close it is to get to Belmont, or how that would work when you're looking, do I go to Albert Lee or am I going to Mason City for something? She's very aware of who those, best connections would be. And we think that's a huge asset to help and correct something like that. Now, in addition to that, we have our own TPA that gives us access to some of that coding that we think assists us in that process. So.
Your specific example, with a fully insured group, you don't have as much access to all of those details as you do with, if you were a larger self-funded group where you can actually dive in. And like Jim said, we have a TPA as well. So being equipped with a TPA, ours is called Cisco. It's not right for all of our clients. It's a case-by-case basis. We also have a medical management company called Health Corp. It's equipped with a medical director and about 25 nurses that in specific situations like that, if we can get the proper information from your insurance carrier, because I don't want to tell you that, oh, absolutely, we can do this when you're fully insured, split funded, I believe. We do have some access, but again, not as much as maybe on a self-funded group. But we are able to dive into that, and because we have a third-party administrator and because we have a medical management company with a medical director and nurses on staff, when there is something going on, they can actually get on the phone with a Wellmark or a United or the participant and say, why don't you tell me what's going on here? You need to release your information to us in order for us to be able to call your doctor or whoever that may be. So those folks at Health Corp, although you may not be working directly with them, we are able to use them as a resource for our clients, and it has helped in many situations.
Yeah, similar to, I think, what they both said, we don't have a wholly owned TPA or a medical management company, but we are staffed with, as part of that wellness and loss control and claims management team, an entire team that's dedicated to reviewing claims. Part of the reason why you do monthly claims reviews, even if it's with the data that is maybe limited with a 90-life fully insured group, is to look for things that are eye-catching and eye-opening, and then understanding how to talk to that. We're staffed with underwriters. There's a lot, I think, of value having an underwriter talk to an underwriter or an underwriter claims person talking to a claims advocate at Wellmark or something like that, because they can speak the language. It's not coming from a salesperson. And so I think all part of that claims management is being able to identify things that pop up that don't look right, that are outliers, trends that are happening that may be going the wrong way, and then being able to have direct contacts within your Wellmarks or your other carriers of the world that you can get access to and have honest conversations with.
You all answered it. I specifically, it comes down to logic, and so, yeah.
A lot of it
That's
too,
good.
Mike, is, just to add on to that, and I think everyone here would agree that what's really important in that situation is we need your employees to feel comfortable with us, to be able to pick up the phone and say, Sarah, I called Wellmark like you told me to first because Carla doesn't have my information, but I just don't think they're speaking my language and something's wrong here. I have a client in Chicago that is a private entity, not public, but we figured out something kind of similar where the year prior that no one had to pay for lab work or diagnostics, and a couple of people had been coming in saying, we figured out that UHC had built the plan wrong in the second year. They're fully insured as well, so we have limited access. But in the meantime, we've gotten the $82,000 in reimbursements to employees. We've had United actually write a personalized letter to each person. So every situation is very different. But if those employees didn't feel comfortable coming to Carla and her team, or you as a supervisor, or us, we need them to get comfortable with that, so those employee meetings to introduce ourselves, no matter who it is, to get them to say, you know, you can trust me with, you know,
They have to, or you're out of a job.
This meeting's gonna be happening next year, right? Yeah, so.
I don't want all the questions first.
You guys all represent all the carriers, right?
We do.
One of them has specifically spelled out in there, but I just assumed all the rest.
Yes.
Question I had, with my notes. Yours included the fee that said, and standard commission. What is that?
Sure. So standard commissions in the non-medical lines now, we work with several other trusts throughout Iowa. I don't believe we have any IGHCP groups, but some trusts are built differently. So we weren't sure with the parameters that were in the RFP originally issued if you were seeking assistance on those non-medical lines. So the $25,000 fee that we addressed to the consulting portion didn't include those commissions for the non-medical lines. But really kind of how, and I did put a note in here too, that we want to work with you, we want to be flexible, we want to make sure that both sides of the table really feel comfortable and feel the value that you're getting and that we're giving to you. So if it's not clear enough, or if that's something you want to talk about, we can absolutely do that.
It's just the language I don't understand.
Oh, sure.
So non-medical lines refers to life insurance, disability, vision, dental.
All those.
All the not medical.
Is that the same with all three of you guys?
I think we included in ours to do it net of all commissions, so the fee that we listed in our proposal would be inclusive of that, and just did one flat fee.
I think that's something too, with no matter which broker or consultant, whatever you want to call us, you don't have to pay commissions through insurance companies. So you can net them all out, as Kyle said, and then just go on a fee basis, monthly, quarterly, whatever works best for you. Many municipalities prefer to have it incorporated within. I think that can get a little dicey because if you do get an increase, do I deserve an increase? Right? So I prefer the fee, but at the same time, then you're not having to write a separate check on a monthly basis as well. So it's whatever your preference is.
This is a question that you'll probably all answer the same, but it's a question I have on telemedicine. You know, right now our plan does not include any telemedicine. Is it something that's going to save us some money if it's in our plan? Is it a beneficial thing for us?
You will soon have a telemedicine option offered to you if you're fully insured with Wellmark. We started, so I'm very familiar with IGHCP. I had a few groups within that trust. When some of the issues that had happened years ago, we don't need to go into any of that. One of our groups, specifically Dubuque County, decided that they no longer wanted to be part of it. So we needed to find a new solution for them. So we built Iowa Community Trust, which is another trust very similar to IGHCP, right? You don't have to work with ICT. Not all of our municipalities do. But it was the first trust in Iowa that has doc on demand available to them. So they do have that. So I've been very familiar with that. Now, depending on how your plan design is set up for your employees, it can be very beneficial. At any rate, it is beneficial to employees if they don't have to go to an emergency room or urgent care and get more sick than they already are, right? If you have a high deductible health plan and you offer the doc on demand at no cost to your employees, that's a huge benefit to your plan, right? Because you on the back end are going to be, kind of charged for that, whether it's doc on demand or teledoc, MeMed, or any of them. But yes, I think that is a big benefit. But it again depends on how your plan is designed and how you design the plan of teledoc, because you want your employees to utilize it if you are going to be paying for it. So it's all in how you communicate it.
And I think with your upcoming renewal, it should be included at no charge through Wellmark. So it shouldn't even essentially be an option. I think there's two things with Teladoc. One, I would agree, it is very beneficial, and I think it's more beneficial in rural Iowa, in rural counties in Iowa, when maybe the only opportunity to get critical care after hours or on the weekends is at the local county hospital, potentially, or the urgent care or the emergency room. And so I think the value of Teladoc comes with the upfront communication and expectation of what it is, because a lot of people say, you know what, I'm not going to call a doctor. I want to go see a doctor. And so I think the communication on the front end of explaining the value of it to employees and when and why and how to use it is where the rubber meets the road. With only one plan design, you've got a very small copay on your plan. If they go to the emergency room, that certainly costs your plan a heck of a lot more. So there's a ton of value in doing that. It does take time for people to understand and get comfortable with FaceTiming with a physician. But we've had telemedicine in our large self-funded accounts for a number of years, and you've kind of seen the trend and the trajectory of utilization on it continue to go up every single year. And I got to believe there's a lot of value in it if Wellmarks can offer it to all their customers.
Yeah, I'm echo the same stuff. It's an important piece. And Kyle stressed this too, but the importance of the education, the employee engagement around how and when to use that, and that we're not trying to replace the traditional doctor, path. We're really just trying to give you an alternative for the times that maybe it makes more sense. And so it's that education and employee engagement and that ongoing process that's so important to begin in your partnership. As we start that flow, it's that constant. What's our message this year? This year we're going to focus on Teladoc. This year we're going to focus on some of the other fringe beneficial items that we can ingrain in your plan. So that's the flow.
I have a client right now who actually chooses to not use Doc on Demand through Wellmark, and they pay a separate fee for Teladoc. Doc on Demand with Wellmark, it's actually a separate company, and I feel like they're trying to work through it. But today when you call into Doc on Demand, you actually have to give them your credit card, even if you have it set up to be no cost. I have a lot of blue collar employers that they've got folks that do not have credit cards, so they can't use it. Or they have a flip phone and they don't have a computer at home. So you also need to, yes, if it's at no cost, you're absolutely going to utilize it. But if you do have high utilization, maybe it is a conversation that the following years in that 3 to 5 year plan, maybe we do want to either Wellmark, you need to fix this, or let's look at other solutions that's going to be able to benefit everyone.
But it is beneficial. It just has to be done the right way. Yeah, exactly.
Personally, my issue is getting in to see a doctor isn't possible.
Yeah.
Right.
I can see you next week.
Yeah.
Or 2 months, yeah, right, depending.
Just on vacation.
Especially around here.
Book that, it's horrible.
I can tell you with a 7 and 4 year old in a high deductible health plan with an HSA, we've saved a bunch of money and time and effort, and my wife loves it, and it's been beneficial for us.
Absolutely.
But it took a few minutes, and I know there's a lot of clinics, that normally that doctor's routine, they go from bed 1 to bed 2 to room 3, and then now they've even incorporated room 4 as a telemedicine consultation as part of their daily routine and daily rounds.
Just so I don't forget, I want to make sure, I think I know what you're saying, but your commissions and your consulting fees, you're taking one or the other, correct?
For Cunningham and Butler?
For all you guys. You can, according to my wife, you can take it either ways. You can take your commission from the insurance company, or you can forego that and charge a consulting fee, one of the two. So you're not doing both, correct?
Correct. So if we, like Nikki said, I believe it stated a $25,000 fee for the medical plan and benefits consulting, technology consulting, all of that. So that means that on the medical plan, there would be no commissions involved. On those non-medical lines where we said there would be a standard commission, if you would want to net those out and do a fee, you could do that. But yes, not a fee and a commission.
That's really.
We proposed, the fee that we gave you is we would net out all commissions and all product lines.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's the top line.
Yep.
Ours is the same. You were looking, however you look for an answer.
Yeah.
I just think it's-
I like that your wife armed you appropriately.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So included in all that, does it include like, EBS right now takes care of our Cobra, our Flex, our, all those different things that we have to send out letters for, that we have to, do you guys, is that included in that? Do you take care of that?
Ours is specifies in the proposal, all
Yep.
the Cobra services
Yep,
and the
Cobra.
administration for that piece is all included.
Okay.
Yep.
I would have to I'd have to understand your EBC contract a little bit more, to see, I believe it would be covering everything you're doing today, and I don't think you're looking to change your Flex and your Cobra and all that today, are you? You're not looking to make any of those changes to those lines of coverage, are you?
We will be.
Okay. Oh, okay.
We'll be looking at it. I don't know if we will, but we will be looking at it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but the fees that you pay for Cobra and Flex and those are separate from what you, the money that you allocate towards that would be allocated again towards Flex and Cobra and so on.
Or do
Yes.
they wrap it all together? Does EBS wrap it all together, probably?
I don't think they.
When we pay our bill, we have a fee for Cobra, we have a fee for people who do Flex, we have a fee for administration, we have a fee for them sending us whatever.
Letters, all that, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's my question. Is all that included in what you say your fees are, or is that going to be separate line items as well?
So we wouldn't, don't let me speak for you folks.
We'll take
but-
each one.
Okay, so the way I understand it today, you don't currently pay a brokerage or a consulting fee, is that correct? Do you pay a fee for a consultant?
I believe we're consulting.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
pay
think
a
you do.
fee. We
To
have-
be part of the group?
Yeah.
Okay. So the.
Two Rivers, that's
Yes.
Two Rivers
Right.
that Flex.
And as you well know, that's where they're updated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the money that you currently pay towards Cobra, towards Flex, if I'm understanding it correctly, for the time being, if you hired one of us three tomorrow, that stays where it is today. And if and when you choose to leave EBS and say go to Wellmark and WageWorks or whoever it may be, then the money that you're paying towards that would go for those lines of coverage. So if you're paying a fee to Two Rivers, you'd no longer be paying that fee, but for your individual lines of coverage, you're still gonna be paying for those. So we're not the administrator necessarily. We have Cobra services, we have Flex services. I
I just thought it all went together.
Our fee
That's what
includes
I'm
that.
understanding.
On our last page where our fee, it specifies right in there that Cobra services are included, TPA services are included. The partial self-fund fee would be separate, we specify that
So
too.
did you answer as a third-party administrator or as a consultant and broker?
The answer is a consultant broker. So we specify how that would set up.
Explain the difference.
The third-party administrator would be the person that's processing the claims and making a partial self-fund. I would call today your EBS, that's a third-party administrator.
Right, so we answered as a broker, meaning we have services that can administer your split-funded program with Wellmark, your Cobra, your Flex, and so on. But at this point today, you're not firing EBS, IGHCP yet. So at July 1st, when you do, then those would transition to wherever we did the marketing process and presented you with your options and who's the best new partner. That, in our fee, it's included for that purpose, right?
Yeah, if we were to move away from EBS as your TPA for Cobra and Flex and the like, it's all in there.
Yeah. Sorry if I made that more confusing than it needed.
I think so.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize, Carla.
It's maybe how you're getting billed today that makes it confusing.
Right.
It can be really simple.
Because if
They've made it quite the mousetrap.
a line item, if they sneeze, they.
Right.
Yeah.
Just make it simple.
Sneezes are free.
Transparency is key.
Well, and that's the problem, is that they want to be overly transparent because of the past.
They just
And
read.
So now there is so many different line items that with so many different charges, that's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Do we have all that, is that included here, or is,
Sure.
you know?
And I would think that if you would want to confirm what everyone said, you could send that bill to us and we could give you a quick email on exactly our take on it.
Okay.
Sure.
That might be,
That might be helpful, that's a good idea.
just to make sure we're all speaking the same language.
Yeah.
2 years from now, what's gonna be the main driver for our premiums?
In my opinion, it's your claims utilization, how you utilize the plan and what your employees are doing, and
I would agree with, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just assuming that's the same with everybody.
I would say that as well. I think RX is definitely a world that us as consultants, we have experts on our team now who dig deeper into that. If you look at claims experience with groups of private, public sector, whoever it may be, your RX spend is increasing at a more steep rate than what some of your medical claims are. Now that varies group to group, but I think it's very safe to say that if you're not putting in certain levers that you're pulling to try and contain some costs in the RX world, it's about time to look for a new consultant who is paying attention to those areas. So I would say absolutely I agree. Claims, how your members are utilizing the plan, but I think RX is something we need to pay attention to.
You need to educate your folks on that. I mean, they don't know what that means if you tell them to do that. How do you be a savvy consumer when I get sick and I go to the doctor and my doctor prescribes me this medication? I don't know that there's one that could potentially do the same exact thing that costs me $40 less every month. You know, every penny counts. So educating your employees on asking the right questions when they're at the pharmacy, when they're at the doctor. Those are the important pieces that really are going to affect your bottom line.
And I think to piggyback on that, you know, there's two components to that pharmacy. There's the frequency and there's the cost. And if you look at the frequency of your medications that your members are using, it's opioids, it's antidepressants, it's, you know, all that stuff. By and large, those are very cheap, right? I mean, those medications are very cheap. And what's driving that pharmacy spend is your specialty drugs. I mean, those are your life-saving drugs that, you know, almost are miracle drugs in a lot of components, but that's not going away, and the cost on that is continuing to go crazy.
A friend of mine that takes the medication that's one of those specialty drugs or whatever, and he found out that if he gets it in Rochester compared to Albert Lee, that it's many thousands of dollars more in Rochester than it is in Albert Lee.
How do you figure that
For
out?
the same thing,
How did he find that out?
because he's been to both places.
Well, I just mean, you know, did he call, you know, people call around for an oil change. Where is it going to be cheaper, but they don't call around for their drugs?
Well, yeah, you
Same
don't,
deal.
yeah, you.
Can I get a coupon?
You
Yeah.
would just never guess that the same drug would be sold for such a huge difference in price.
Isn't it crazy? It's wrong.
Yeah, and really, claims will drive it, but employee engagement is the key. You have to find the right partner who's gonna help your employees understand and become better utilizers over time. They won't do that tomorrow. It's gonna be a marathon, not a sprint, and how we get them to that point. And they won't come running to it. I mean, they'll come running away from it, actually. They like what they have. They like something that just pays every time they need it.
So
And that's going away. We have to help them understand why.
The new program's a lot cheaper for the new people, but they leave the old people and they kind of don't tell them too much about how you could get it that much cheaper if you were to look in.
Yeah, we've got, to Sarah's point, you know, of shopping around, I've got a good family friend, stage 4 cancer, terminal, kids, whole 9 yards, was on Medicare, Social Security disability. Her husband's an attorney through his own practice. January 1, we got her off Medicare. She was spending, you know, in her Part D, it was 5% a month for Zycadia, which was $1,200 a month out of her pocket, in addition to all the other costs. Got her on a private plan with a copay program through the manufacturer. She went from paying $1,200 a month to a $25 copay. But it's the ability to find those resources to be able to do it. And that's a lot of money.
Well, I would think that would be something you guys also pay attention to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you guys can get it that much cheaper somewhere, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I just.
Paying attention to those monthly claims and where your plan's being utilized should be the backbone of what we're
Are
doing.
not Albert Lee and Rochester connected? You're talking about. Don't go this through the hospital. What got, there's only just like, 100 and some people in the United States that have it. Really, really rare.
Can't remember which one said, but shopping around, shopping around. You know, we all have our comfort zones of people we work with. And unfortunately, that drives a lot of our decisions sometimes. I don't think this is a loaded question. It might be uncomfortable to answer, but do you guys have a comfort zone with any particular company that you like to work with? Well, Mark, United Health. Because my wife says that's a problem that she runs up against.
Yeah, I think we personally take, and I imagine everybody's going to answer it the same. We take our independence very seriously, right? You hire us to work on your behalf and your employees' behalf. I think the fact of the matter is, in Iowa, you know, there's one big dominant giant. So when you talk about fully insured business, I think everybody would answer that in that fully insured under 100 market, Wellmark dominates that book of business. For us, probably 80% of our revenue comes from large, fully insured, self-funded business, where it's Wellmark has business in there, United Healthcare, and a number of other TPAs that do. The way I guess I'll answer that is no. We work with some more than others, but it's just probably because you have to. The nature of the business. But I think, you know, having direct contracts with all of those carriers that are applicable to you guys and being able to solve your problems is an important thing.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of add to that too, our jobs are as consultants is to bring you the options, bring you the facts, equip you to make a dedicated business decision that's going to best support your employees, your benefits program. So to Kyle's point, understanding who the players are, obviously Wellmark is that 800-pound gorilla, but there are other carriers, and you know, maybe down the road that is an opportunity or a carrier that you want to potentially work with. It's up to us to make sure we equip you with the facts so you can make that decision on what's best for you, because if it is a situation where we are favoring someone, we're going to get out the door quicker that way. So, well, and it's nicely saying, but you know,
you need to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it's our job to put the facts on the table for you and understand how it affects our other people, you know, our other clients, and say, yeah, you might get deeper discounts over here, but you're going to pay because of this, maybe customer service, whatever it might be, depending on where you're located. But yeah.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on being independent, so I mean, I don't think anybody's any different there. And a lot of that is really, it comes back to the employee engagement and education around why something might be different if we were to switch to United Healthcare, were to switch to Aetna, were to switch to Health Partners. You know, if we did make a move, it's important to engage your employees in why we made that move, because they're used to Wellmark, and helping them understand the why behind some of that is a big part of whatever happens.
Well, I'll let you off on all of you off. My wife has come home, not many, but a few times, pulling her hair out on every company.
They've all got their good.
Welcome to health insurance.
Yeah. Battle every day.
So I know right in our backyard is mail, and it's a challenge right now with their closing the hospital end of it up in the outpatient up in Albert Lee. Is Wellmark the only hospital we have for covering mail, or
no?
Yeah. Are all of them going to cover mail?
Pretty much.
At some level.
Yeah.
Depends on what we want to pay, correct?
Yeah.
Pretty much we'll have an option to get you there, and you'll understand how it would work, and the education of the employees as to how they would access that is the key again. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of usage at Mayo currently?
Yeah, we do.
I'm a Mayo patient, and
There's
it's
a clinic right in Lake Mel, so.
They're a wonderful facility.
What would be second, Mason City? Would the hospital in Mason City?
City clinics are out of Mercy, and there's a Mercy and a Mayo clinic in Lake Mel's, and then like the Buffalo Center has Mercy.
But for hospital based, okay.
We have no hospital in our county. So
Right.
Right.
that's why it's a big rub that they're closing the one.
Is Brick, are they affiliated with Mercy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So and it's just amazing how full Mason City is in the hospital all the time,
Yeah.
but yet Mayo doesn't seem to keep more than 6 or 7 patients in any given day there, so it's just confusing.
But there it comes back again to, and you know this, to comfort level with the patient. And I had quadruple bypass. I didn't care where I had it on, Mercy or Mayo.
Just keep me alive.
You know, but some people, it wouldn't have it done at Mercy for anything.
Yeah.
They gotta go to Mayo, and vice versa.
Yep.
So,
I think there's the question of, the perception that Mayo's always better, but I do also believe, when they talk about shopping around, there's cost and quality parameters that I think it's part of our job to help you guys educate your members to, what's the best place to go get it done for the cheapest price and not get readmitted to the hospital and complications and become a wise consumer, because sometimes Mayo may be the right place, but it doesn't always have to be. It doesn't have to be just elective, I'm going to Mayo Clinic.
Something on Mercy, you get billed from about 20 different directions. You can go to Bloor and have something done, you get one bill.
Sure.
Yeah.
Seems to be a lot simpler than
That is the frustrating part of Mercy, is the
Big
45
consolidated.
different bills from everybody who's senior looked at you and
and there again, that comes back to the importance of our agent, whoever we choose, being able to look at that coding. I'm not specifically speaking of Mercy, but there are situations where my wife thinks there's actually been fraud in the coding itself. Okay, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
And so-
uncommon to have a coding
Right.
mistake.
It happens more than you
Yeah.
think.
One that we see a lot at our third-party administrator, I'm sure you guys have seen the same at any TPA. We give an example of like a spinal fusion. It was down in the Quad Cities, and they charged the participant for 5 titanium screws, and those titanium screws are like $8,000 a piece. I think in the notes it said they actually only used 3,
Two
but they
throw
were
them away.
charged for 4 or 5, because once they open that package, they can't use those others any longer. So our TPA writes that off. Now, a Wellmark on a fully insured group your size is not going to be checking on those claims. It would be really hard for anyone to check on those claims, but that does happen, absolutely.
Yeah.
for that price.
No, it's not.
It'd be awful easy to start.
Yeah, right. I can use them for something. Hang them on pictures on my
Put one in the barn door.
Right. But that's the crazy part about healthcare, right? That example right there is an example of why, one of the many reasons why it's just absurd right now.
As a little boy, there was no healthcare. We used to go to Old Doc Hanson up in Frost. And we didn't have to support a multi-billion-dollar health insurance industry. And the people that came in there that didn't pay their bill, he just ate it, and he still became a multi-millionaire. And people, we used to, the whole family, $5, $10 would get it out of it.
Well, that's why I think you guys are doing a split-funded program. So you're smart. You're making the right decision. You're paying the least amount of premium as you can. You don't want to pay that premium. You're willing to take the risk of those additional claims, right? So you already have the right frame of mind. Now it's just a matter of getting your employees to be better consumers so that you can continue to afford that additional risk above the premium.
What experience do your companies have with involvement in self-funded, fully self-funded?
Yeah, so I was gonna ask too.
For us, that's probably 80% of our revenue on our team in Des Moines is large case self-funded. Before we were True North, we were Frank Berlin Associates. We're 50 years old today. And that's really where we've hung our hat and built our agency for the last 50 years.
Yeah, we have a large amount, and actually our references are, I think 2 of the references are both fully self-funded, which would be great places to call and learn how we do
Is that the
things.
best way to be? Fully self-funded?
There's a balance.
Really depends.
We talk about it. I mean, self-funding, I say, is an HSA for the group. So if we've introduced HSAs, how do we start to think about doing that now at the corporate level? And those theories, it kind of depends on cash flow, kind of depends on your comfort level. How do the taxpayers, how does that work? But we talk through those ebbs and flows and make sure that you're comfortable with it. Partial self-funding gets you started, and then either leads you down that path further or maybe not as far. So that's the unique size, being in that 90 life threshold.
It's a touchy size
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Whether it's through a 2080 or standalone, self-funding, our answer is very similar to Kyle's. We've got a very large book of self-funded business. I think we place over $300 million in premium. I would tell you, for a group of your size, it's either going to make sense or it's not. First things first, you get the quote, absolutely get the quote for 7/1 renewal. Like I said, it's either going to make sense or it's not. Now, you can look with any of the carriers. You can go in the standalone stop loss market. There's a lot of different new pieces and terminology that will be thrown out on the table. You can really make self-funding look, smell, and feel like a fully insured program now, because you can actually truly put a max to it. Back in the day, when you were self-funded, you could just go through the roof and there was no end. Well, now you can actually put a stop on where your max is. So if that max isn't somewhere near where that fully insured renewal is, it's not a question for the next year, most likely for a government entity. But it'd be smart to start looking at it, and if it doesn't make sense this year, we fully educate you, the decision makers, on it, so that next year we can look at it again, and maybe you have a couple of years of better claims, and then you can jump on it. But yes, that pool of money is important, because then if you ever get out of it, you need a little bit of money for run out.
And there's some horror stories. Chickasaw County, I don't know if you've seen, 3 or 4 years ago, they got themselves in a lot of trouble. They were self-funded, and they spent down their fund to save premium dollars or save employee cost. Well, you have to be a good steward with how you're managing that, and you can't decide to give away the future for today.
Yeah.
And so they got themselves in a real world of hurt. So you hear, in your circles, you could hear somebody that says, like, careful, but hiring the right partner is a key to that equation.
And having that partner understand how to set up the contracts. To Sarah's point, there's some new lingo, there's some new parts to a self-funded program that, because you're split funded, you're still fully insured today, technically. So having a partner who understands the logistics of a self-funded program, setting you up correctly, having those certain clauses in that contract to protect you against those large claimants that could come through, is absolutely huge. And a big part of how we win business is that being attentive to detail and looking at the bigger picture, making sure all of the ducks are in a row, if that is a route you want to go down. But kind of as we said before, it's about, here are your options. Here's where you are today. Here's 3 other options that are here for you to consider. Here's the financial analysis to go along with it. We didn't get into detail, but another reason that we get hired is because of some of our proprietary benchmarking and analysis, and just our analytical team in general, is giving you the best projected financial outcome based off of where your claims are coming in today, so you can see the picture of what those options look like next to each other. I think are absolutely huge. I think we do a really great job of that.
Having said just what you said, the process that we have taken here, do you think it's the right way? And I want you to be candid, because I'll let you know, I don't think it was the right way to go. I think we should have brought forth, we should have got together and said, this is what we want for our insurance, and brought it out to you guys and said, you fight over it. I mean, you give us your best proposal over it. How can you, my question is, how can we pick let me back up, let me preface it by saying this. If I went to buy a car, I wouldn't go to a dealer that has Chevy, Ford, and Dodge and say, and then go to 3 of those dealers and say, I'm gonna pick one of you guys, and then you give me the best deal. Am I wrong in thinking, because I wanna know, I really do. Am I wrong in thinking that we have the process backwards here? We should have come to you guys and say, this is what we want for insurance, okay, you bid it.
I'll respectfully disagree, and I think we talked about it when we originally talked a month or so ago. With your claims information, your demographics on a fully insured contract, if you give me the identical information that you give them and Jim, we're going to come back. The only thing that we can manipulate, we can certainly give you different plan designs and options, but by the way, you're buying, one of the highest deductible, programs out there. There's a ceiling there. But we can manipulate our compensation that's built in that. But the underwriter is going to look at it and say, it is what it is. And I personally think that, like a horse race, it benefits you to pick your jockey and let your jockey ride the horse.
Pick your jockey, let your jockey ride, pick his horse.
Yeah, because, we're all going to represent the same and or similar markets. And if Wellmark, for example, gets information from Cottingham and us and group benefit partners, in my opinion, it dilutes the seriousness of, who we're representing in the marketplace, because they're saying they're just looking for the best deal.
And it's a lot more work for Carla because we're all going to be calling her with questions.
So I believe the way.
I question that, because doesn't that get taken care of during the census in your questions?
Hopefully, absolutely. You're hoping that the information, so we'd probably all request basically the same information. If you got 3 different requests, they probably all look a little different, probably sound a little different. Just like we said, all this lingo is a little crazy, right, with all the acronyms. So if we were all asking for the same exact information, our 3 emails would look probably totally different to Carla. So, you need a census, you need rates, you need plan design, so on and so forth. But I might have some questions about, okay, well, would you be looking for this, or what is your intent? I think it's really hard.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think you're hitting the point that I'm saying, is you might have a much better plan than these two. And I don't want to use the word plan. A way to get to the objective that will save us money that maybe the other 2 companies have overlooked.
Yeah, but that's kind of, we're all saying the same thing. I don't mean to say it in a negative way. That's kind of our point, is you need to pick your soldier and let us go to battle. Because no offense to these guys, but if they're in my battle, I don't get the same freedom to deal with Wellmark or United or Aetna. Because Wellmark and United and Aetna have to be consistent to everybody. So they're going to release all the same information and can't differentiate rates or plan design or structure. And so I might have better ideas, but I won't even be able to get to use them because Wellmark has to release the same stuff to all 3 of us. And so we said initially too, when I think the dual RFPs came out, the first one that came out, we're kind of like, hey, should we call them and let them know that it would almost be better to pick a soldier first?
All 3 of these companies called me.
Yeah.
We're all
and
poor Carla. Leave me alone.
But I think
I'm just trying to do my job.
You're not wrong. But it's kind of different than your Chevy Ford example, because
I know
but that same guy can't sell you a Chevy and a Ford. And now they kind of can because they're different. With all the mergers that have happened.
All the same
Right.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think to answer to your point, Mr. Chairman, is once you select one of us, the first thing that needs to happen is that deep dive discovery to figure out what is your objective. We understand what you have today, and we understand a little bit on the periphery of maybe what you're looking for. But that's why you hire us, is to come up and sit down and figure out where do we, if I were to ask you in 3 years' time, where do you want to be to make this a successful relationship, what would you tell me?
And Mike, today, consultants, and I don't want to speak for you, but the way we win business is not in that bidding process. It's us coming in off renewal and saying, okay, Carla, Mike, Terry, and Bill, what are your strategies? What are your initiatives? What do you like about your program? What do you not like? What's going well? What's not going well? And then what we do is we take and do that deep dive analysis, and we come back and we're like, based off of what you told us and what we see with your program today, here's some strategies. This is how we get there. So that's how we win our business. It's our intellectual capital. It's
That's
not
what
that bidding
complicates it, honestly, in a public RFP process for this type of benefit. You're really going out to bid and saying, hey, we're buying a new truck. Is it 50,000 or 48,000? Well, 48,000 wins. That isn't what we're selling. We're selling innovation and service and support that doesn't necessarily have a number tied to it. That's what's going to save you money over the long term. And so that's what really complicates this. We can put a number down on a piece of paper that says, hey, we're going to charge you 25,000, or we're going to charge you whatever number that is. And if you pick the lowest guy, that isn't necessarily the best value. The best value is the partner that you want to partner with you and your employees and bring those innovative ideas and structure a plan design that's going to benefit you long term, and figure out with you your long term strategy and get you to that. So it's hard to just say, here's that cost of a good. Yeah.
A lot of it's your gut, too. I mean, you've got three great companies in this room today. You're gonna be in good hands no matter who you pick.
It's gonna be tough.
Thank you guys for making it a really tough decision.
Thanks for picking us. That's where I go back to, you really gotta call those references and ask them the questions. And, if you need more references, ask us for them. Maybe it would make sense. I don't think we have many self-funded references. Maybe you call a couple more.
Well, the self-funded thing is just something for the.
It's an idea for future, right?
I just noticed that adjacent counties have been doing it, but they're a little bigger.
Right?
Yeah.
Zero.
And yeah, back to that point, it depends on a lot of things that we just don't know maybe today. So
We think it's a big piece of who you think's gonna jive with your employees. Who do you think can deliver the message the best way to your employees to help them navigate this process?
Do you have a health insurance committee?
Yeah, kinda. We do with the, yeah, we do, kinda with the, what do you call them?
Department head meetings.
Department head meetings.
Okay. So
No, we don't specifically have one,
Okay,
but.
so, and I'm not saying you need one by any means, but that's Dubuque County is one of my clients, and they have a health insurance committee, and they've got a couple of folks from every department, every union, and they really do take a lot of time to get educated. We come in and educate them often. They make suggestions to the board. Typically, the board believes them, that they've done their due diligence. Every now and then, the board then will tweak it a bit. But that's a great way to go about it. Some of the other groups I work with, the Board of Supervisors makes the call, or the auditor.
We
They're all
brought that
different.
committee up a lot in our proposal too, and we think there's a lot of value in really gaining buy-in from the employees before you guys edict something. I mean, you're gonna make your decision ultimately, but how do we bring them along to what your decision's gonna be so that there's,
Buy-in.
buy-in and better receptivity?
How many unions do you have? Do you have
Two.
Two. Which ones?
2 unions and a
Well,
working group.
Law enforcement.
Okay.
The other one's an association.
And that's important.
Typically.
I mean, to the buy-in point and communication, that's
Makes your lives
obviously
easier.
create champions inside of that and
Does it
give
really
them.
matter after the law changed?
No,
Well, it doesn't matter, but it matters. yeah.
it's to you and your
Yeah.
people and your
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
It'll dictate what we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is for all three of you. Do you find that the same with private companies compared to public?
Definitely.
They all have, people on a.
Oh, a committee? No, I'm sorry, yeah.
I didn't think so.
When I started almost 10 years ago at Cottingham and Butler, we didn't have a lot of government business, and I was kind of pushed towards that. My father was in politics for a long time. My mother was a school teacher. I just kind of understood the government place. It's a different beast, right? I mean, you guys know that. You deal with it every day. A lot of people thought I was crazy because, I have to have 3 people hire me or 2 people, versus, one CFO. And my response back to that was, but yeah, if that CFO quits or gets fired, I'm out. It's hard for me to get fired too. The majority of my clients are government entities and family-owned and operated businesses because they all take really good care of their employees, or want to, or have to. But typically, private employers do not. It's the CFO, it's the HR director, it's the
bottom line.
president, whoever, yeah.
Do you have a safety committee?
Yes.
That may be a good place to start.
Well, I think the value of a health insurance committee would be beneficial because you're gonna get that feedback by each department on what the problems are. It's getting everybody to 85 people in this room to discuss it is impossible.
One of the references we gave, and I listed it out to you, about your same size, 90, made two kind of wholesale changes. One was fully insured to self-funded. The other one was the introduction of an HSA, and really incentivized going from a $400 deductible with no co-pays as a cost-saving mechanism, the whole 9 yards. They've got same situation, 3 unions. Formed a health insurance committee years ago. We started that process 12 months in advance to introduce that. We brought them in, we got feedback. They took it back to their membership and their groups. They were advocates either for or against or whatever. But the communication lasted 6 months before the city said, yeah, this actually does make sense. But by the time we got to an enrollment meeting, they already knew what was happening, and they understood why it was good, and you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it made the city and the administration look really good in those employees' eyes, because it wasn't something that was taking the rug from out from under their feet. It was an option that potentially could be extremely beneficial. But that's maybe one example of the value of creating that committee and fostering transparency.
Putting those folks together, though, I'd warn you, when I put them together for counties or cities or school districts, when you sit down with them the first time, you need to ask them, as employees, you need to be able to, as a health insurance committee member, be able to take off your I'm a mom hat and put on your I'm a fiscally responsible county employee hat. And if you can't do that within seconds of each other, this committee is not a place for you. So I'm not saying that, I have a daughter who has a lot of medical needs. I might not be the best person, because I'm really going to be pushing towards this or this. But at the same time, I might be a good person to have on that committee because I use my healthcare and I understand it. I just need to be able to be a fiscally responsible employee and a user also.
Can I quote you?
Well, I'll say it to your committee if we.
It's on record now, isn't it?
Go back to
It's on YouTube.
I got a question for you. Page 6 of your, page 6?
Yep.
And number 6? I just need that explained a little bit. I think I might be misunderstanding it. And just for you guys, I'll read it. It says, describe the resources you use to analyze medical and pharmacy claims. With our clients that are fully insured, we are forced to use the tools that carriers provide. What do you mean by that?
Really, I think that was referenced earlier too by them. The access to information is very limited in itself.
Right.
In a fully insured environment. And so we're forced to use whatever tools they're going to provide, whether it be here's your standard reports or here's the large claims that you might have access to. We like to get you into a partial self-fund environment where we have our TPA that can access that information. Then we can analyze data.
That's all taken care of if the client itself gives you permission, correct?
No.
No?
In a fully insured environment?
Yeah.
No.
That isn't?
No.
Okay.
All those carriers are, especially on a 90 life group,
okay,
they're very tight to the vest on whatever information they'll share.
Oh, okay. Then I was totally wrong on that. Yeah. Sorry.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you work with clients on a split funded platform, do you always have them with your TPA?
No. Yeah,
TPAs?
we work with, we said that in our proposal too. We work with a lot.
I thought so. I just, from a couple of things you said, I wanted to clarify that for you.
We do find, really, I would say any of the TPAs that we would work with, we get way better information than we do on a fully insured client. But we get truest information if it's our TPA. But it won't always be our TPA. I would say half of our clients probably use us as a TPA, half don't. So.
Do you know why that is between fully funded and partially?
HIPAA. You mean like why they'll share information? Yeah. It's just all on the HIPAA laws that they're hiding behind not sharing information because of their fear for privacy.
And carriers just don't, they don't have reporting packages if you're under 100 employees on the plan.
And a lot of it too, I believe it's a lot of it is they're wanting to protect their network discount information and how they're operating. So it's a competitive deal for them that they can hide behind HIPAA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
What makes us different, and maybe it's good, bad, or ugly, we don't own a TPA like these guys do. So we are 100% independent of who we place you with, for the record.
Well, I guess I've been pretty happy with this process of interviewing. I have a real comfort zone with any of these groups. I kind of look at that commercial that's out there where this guy's duct taped to the wall trying to answer limited on what he can offer, and I feel like this is probably the best process we can go through.
At the end of the day, when you hire somebody, you're not married to them forever, right? You work with somebody, it doesn't work out, you stop paying them. Or you you terminate it. I'm assuming everybody, you can do that. I doubt anybody's got you in a tight 3-year contract, so. I'm sorry, Carl, I think I interrupted you.
My question, so we are paying a certain amount of health insurance right now. And you guys have asked to see like our bill or whatever. So how do you use that? Like, I don't want you to look at our bill and go, oh, you pay this much. So if we lower it by 5%, then we can.
I think we've already given you our fees, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's already.
But what I'm.
Well, that's dictated by the carrier.
So
if we move you away from EBS, for example, and I'll
I
speak
think I
for
can answer that.
when we,
In a layman's term.
Yeah.
In layman's term.
we'll go out and market your flexible spending account and your COBRA administration, and we'll get a number of different carriers that are.
That's not gonna
That's not my
change.
question.
No, I know it, and that's not gonna change within, if we stayed with Wellmark, that's not gonna change. Giving them the information would make no difference. They're gonna get a quote. Now, where we've been stuck is with Wellmark, they can go to United Healthcare, and that brings up the question of why we should give them, or give you the premium that we have paid. You might be able to go to United Healthcare and say, well, yeah, we can reduce it by 5%.
As soon as you hire any one of us, we'll be able to get it without asking you.
But I think,
Right?
Carla, maybe the reason why we asked it in this process, is that what you're asking?
yes.
Is because, so, I don't know what your increases have been over the past 5 or 10 years, or however long you've been with IGHCP. Maybe it's been a steady 2 to 7%, and here and there you've been flat, or whatever it may be. And that all, relatively speaking, comparing you to other city county employers, feels pretty good, right? But we don't know what those rates are and what you're paying to compare it to. So for us, it's more of a benchmarking thing with understanding where are you at today, and that's the first step is, okay, we think your rates are high today, and taking that and then with what you were explaining.
But that's only one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is the plan we have.
Correct. But marrying those two together, your plan design and what you're currently paying for your premiums.
And all the services, so Flex, COBRA.
Correct.
What's the pot of money you put in today and what do you get for it?
And that's what I feel like we've always gotten, for lack of better, we've always gotten screwed on our health insurance.
Sure.
I feel like we've had relatively good claims, but we continue to go up and up and up and up, and it doesn't seem to be a reason for it.
One of the natures of the association, when you're in an association, you're sharing. So they give you an average rate. Some people are better, some people are worse. If you're helping that, the association loves you, but you're still getting the average increase that everybody else is getting. We want to look at what other carriers, how they look at you individually, and find out if that association is in the best interest for you to stay in. And that's a frustration of a lot of associations. We've moved to several groups out of ICEBA, the school district association, for that very reason. They're like, well, I look at my claims every year and we're not paying in nearly as much, we're not getting nearly as much back as we're paying in premiums. Well, let's look at you being independent. Now, there is some
Volatility.
Yeah, there is some additional volatility if you get onto your own, but we try and structure that and prepare you to handle that by the partial self-fund, building a claims reserve, doing those things for you to handle those ebbs and flows. There's positives to each decision you make, and we're going to help you describe, here's what you're going to gain from that, here's what you're going to risk with that, and balance that. But I see where you're going, but it's really, if you never look at it, you're just feeling like, well, we don't have any say in this, and that's really the process that you're going about, is we're going to look at it.
And if you think about city,
And I don't remember which book I read out of, but the other thing too, correct me if I'm wrong, is the national, state, and local trends, correct?
Yeah.
Sure. Even our locality.
Absolutely.
So how much does that drive it?
Trend's what, 8% at this point?
yeah.
So if you get a 8% increase, you're increasing with trend. If you get lower than that, that means that you paid way more in claim, or you paid way more in premium than your claims that were put in. There's going to be years though where you spend 120%, So those are the years that it's nice that you're in a trust to kind of eat a little bit of that volatility, because if you're out on your own, then you're getting a 25% increase, right? So then that's where the creativity
But you should know, are we helping the trust or is the trust helping us? If
Yeah,
you
they
don't-
might not know, because with IGHCP, they're a little dicey.
No, I mean,
No, I think we've
Did they?
been helping
All the years
the last
and the
couple of years.
percentages
And
we
Okay,
use.
that's one of the things.
I think we've been helping the trust.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, out of the last 10 years, we've had one or two years that we were above the,
Trend line.
yeah, whatever that number is.
One really bad year and then. the other
One really
was-
bad year and one kind of bad year, and so I don't know. And then with the Affordable Care Act, how does that affect, I mean, since the Affordable Care Act went into effect, our increases have been ridiculous. Is that across the board, or is that just,
It'd probably be a matter of looking at how your trust is handling those changes. But, I mean, we say this to a lot of clients. Several of the enhancements that the Affordable Care Act brought about are things that we all like, but they all cost money. I mean, we can make your plan do anything you want, but it's gonna cost money to have that be part of it. And so it'd just be a matter of reviewing how your trust has taken on some of those enhancements and welcome them or not welcome them.
And Carla, too, some trusts, if you think about government employers, right? You retain your employees who start with you. It's not like a private sector, manufacturing facility that you have that turnover, right? So your employees are staying with you for the
Long haul.
long haul. So if you think about that, your population is getting older and older until that generation, if you will, turns over, okay? So there are certain trusts out there that the population is old, and if it sounds as though you're helping the trust, it may be an opportunity to evaluate to say, hey, either
Demographics.
what's your demographics, what would we expect you to spend off of other cities and counties that we work with, as in Cottingham and Butler and Cisco's book of business, and then we take that and we say, okay, now obviously there's some rules from jumping from trust to trust, but if it makes sense for you to get out, but that doesn't mean that other trusts aren't an option, and maybe it does.
Well, when you're building
So-
your daughter's volleyball team, do you want your daughter to be the best one on that team, or do you want her to get the best 3 players from the schools around her, so that you have 4 good players? Today, you're the best player in your trust, potentially. And so you're the one that's carrying all the weight for whatever's happening. It's the same thing. How do you want to be in that scenario? Are you okay saying, well, I want my daughter to be the one getting all the praise and, they're gonna set her every time? Or do you wanna say, no, I want our team to win? Or do you say, no, I'm gonna go play for Six Pack out of Cedar Falls, because they've got all these girls that are going Division I. I mean, it's just which way do you wanna go? And that's kind of the same scenario with the trust. Do you want, yeah.
I've heard
Would it
them.
be fair to say that over the course of 10 to 15 years, it all balances out, no matter what you do?
No, I think we're the difference. The difference is your analysis and your.
if you're,
If you're self-funded, you got more control over it.
Right.
If you're fully insured, if you're in a trust for 10 or 15 years, yeah, maybe. I think I think the rules of, and we have a trust, right? I don't think they're right in every situation. And I also think you need to know from day one that if we would put you in a trust, we will market other options for you every single year. I don't care if you're in our trust or not, unless it's your best option.
I'm under the understanding that we can't even go into a trust the first year.
You can't.
You cannot.
You cannot. You need to go direct or to a different carrier, correct? Unless they change the rules, which they
Which they
seem
have
to
not
every
yet.
year.
Whatever's most convenient.
And actually,
We'll be on it as soon as they do.
With your current trust, I've actually heard in the marketplace that the way that they change your plans, they make the decisions and you just have to agree to them. Where we just had our annual meeting for ICT last week, we educate the groups on the decisions, and if anyone really wants to push it, then it's a discussion for the committee members to discuss if that's an option that's not worth 2% to us to disrupt our employees. No, we're not gonna do that. But, and I don't know any truth to it, but if your plan designs look very different than they did, if you have your renewals, that might be one reason why, so you could push back on that. We could help you push back on that. I don't know necessarily, it sounds like you wanna get out of IGHCP. Just kind of softly said that. I would tell you though, let's take a look at it. See if we can push them a little bit and see what options are there, because you haven't had an advocate on your team doing that for you, right? You don't have a true broker
That's my point, why 10 to 15 years won't always even out, because I would assume you guys would say the same, think we're better than that. So you're gonna get the information and do something more with that information than everybody else would that would even out.
Have you?
Correct, but our participation or our use of the system, it really gets down to that over 10 to 15 years, doesn't it? I mean.
Yeah, and so much of your renewal too is related to that trend.
Right.
So you're not starting at 0, you're starting at 8 or 10 or 12% to begin with. And there's many years when you know darn well that you deserve better than what you're getting. It's our job to go back and negotiate on your behalf, but not every time do they listen to us. So to your point, maybe it evens out. Because there's so much of it that you really truly can't control.
No control over.
Can't control.
One thing with a lot of those trusts out there, I think my original point, I totally went off on a tangent, is that I think there should be a limit to how long trusts can be alive before they have to dissolve and start all over. Because if you look at like an ISAC trust, maybe their renewals are only 3 to 15% every year for the majority,
But their
3 to
base rate's
5.
so high, it shouldn't.
But you're already paying 20% more, so it's like, well, it doesn't matter what your increase is, what's the baseline?
And that's, I think, to me, that's where we're stuck in right now with the particular carrier we have, so, not carrier.
We're kind of, I actually, in my world, I try and present that that's another carrier. So the trust is just another carrier. So that's one of the 6 options we're gonna look at. We can quote Aetna, we can quote United Healthcare, we can quote your trust. And we'll see which one is the best setup. That's, one way to look at it.
I guess it's another way to look at it.
Well, but the problem with the trust, the way that they have it built, is that let's just say you've been in it for 5 years. I think it's probably longer than that maybe, but let's just say 5 years, you've never seen a United quote or an Aetna quote or so on and so forth. So for Dubuque County this year, new supervisor came from the employer he's currently at, who's self-funded. Well, we knew because of the claims, most likely it wasn't going to be a great option, but I was really excited because they wanted to start talking about it because we've been split funded for a handful of years. So we got a direct from Wellmark quote. I think he was also testing us to see if we would actually take them out of the trust. Would you get us an outside quote? And we did. Didn't make sense this year, but it was a great opportunity to truly educate them on what a self-funded plan looks like, and then also show them, yeah, we'll take you out of the trust.
Sure.
Whatever is your best option.
Yeah, it may or may not. I think one of our references too is the school district we just moved out of the ICEBA trust. Same deal. We weren't sure that was going to be the best scenario, but we quoted outside and decided, okay, that is the best scenario. It's complicated too for your decision making. Is what's the longevity of you guys, and what's the next supervisor going to think of this insurance fund, or how do we make it so that it's going to live beyond what you're doing, and the sophistication of that self-fund model or whatever is not going to blow up the county in 2 or 3 years with discussion. So it's all an interesting mix as to how you decide how you're going to move forward.
Makes it easy.
Exactly. Right. That's why we're on this side.
I've got all my questions taken care of, and I'm good. Yeah. I really, go ahead.
I just think the only thing we have left is the fee thing. If we get our fee structure to them, they can respond to us and compare.
Clarify,
how we're
yep.
paying now and compare to.
Okay.
A big, with how we work, we don't care whether it's fee, commissions, it doesn't matter to us. It's a transparent conversation. Let's talk about it. There might be some services you don't want. There might be some services that you feel should be included. Should be a conversation, and I think any of us consultants would be open to that conversation.
I think that's minor to this.
Should be simple.
You should know what you're getting, know what you're paying, and be comfortable that what you're paying is giving you what you need. So, and I think we're probably all in a similar.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle's probably not, but no.
You better talk to your car when someone's guarding you, because he's coming after. Yeah.
Well, I personally want to thank you guys for coming up. I have learned a lot today.
If nothing else, that's a great exercise for you
Yeah.
to just educate yourself further in what's happening. I mean, you probably have some access that normal people don't have because of your wife, but it is a big deal, and how this, it's such a big cost. How do you educate yourself? What is the new supervisor training? How do you know what's happening? Yeah.
And it's a big part of our budget.
Yeah, huge, right.
Huge part of
It isn't getting any smaller.
And for Carla too, I feel like we didn't get an opportunity to talk about the day-to-day things that you and your team, I assume, are gonna be doing more of than the supervisors.
Let's talk about it.
You know, so I'm just, when you do send those, if more questions come up that you want clarity on, okay, if I have this situation, how do you deal with it? Those types of things, I think that's really important for you on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
You're the one doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff, and so, I mean, we talked a lot about wrapping our arms and making sure you feel equipped, but a big part of
You
our
were your deputy.
job.
That brings up a very good point.
You were your deputy, right?
Because I remember when I was, that shouldn't be though, should it, for Carla?
What do you mean?
The day-to-day stuff. A good agent will make her job
Way easier.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
way easier,
Yeah.
according to my wife.
She'll be your gauge as to how well this partnership works.
Yeah.
She's gonna say, this is great, this is
Yep.
better than
Or
everything
they're
I've
not
ever
with me
had.
at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really, I mean,
Carla's the veto.
you guys said it, your references will tell you,
Right.
your references, you're gonna call other Carlas and they're gonna tell you that,
You bet.
that's a great setup.
And I have not gotten you guys the references yet, but I will send those off before you guys leave today.
What's your time frame for making a decision?
Carla, we had
It's
our
actually
timeline
on
all
the
set up.
agenda to make the decision next week.
Okay,
I put it on the agenda today just as
it goes a slam dunk.
it goes a slam dunk. I wasn't expecting it to be that way, so it is in the timeline.
The score is 0-0. It's gonna be difficult, I'll just tell you.
For you, the sooner the better. I'm not
Yeah.
telling you, we don't care. But for your sake and your purposes of renewal and employee
Budgeting.
communication and planning for fiscal year 19, obviously the sooner the better.
So we have to go through a surveying process then, or?
No, you can just make your selection.
No, I mean, when, after we hire a broker, there's gonna be a survey process for the,
You mean census?
census.
Yeah, we'll ask for your information so we can make sure that we're as educated on what you've had, what you
Policy.
currently have, and, absolutely,
Like a discovery session.
you bet.
have you decided when the live date would be? Would it be July 1st that we would be moving forward, and then we'll help you up through the renewal, and then July 1st is actually when the contract will start? Okay.
Yeah, July 1st is when, I mean, technically,
We'd be working
Start
right
right
before
away.
then.
yeah, it was right away.
Yeah, next week you make a decision.
Right.
There's a planning meeting to get started on the discovery of where we should go. And that process takes a couple months. I mean, really,
I
to
think
get the
so.
carriers back and to get the information disseminated, yeah.
I think there will be, I don't know, it won't take long as hours is concerned. But we need to, we need to come to a decision, the three of us, of exactly what we're gonna offer. And you're gonna play, whatever it is,
Right.
I'm gonna play vital role.
Yeah, let us help you with that, because we can tell you, yeah.
Because if, in my opinion, it's got not a line.
Pick your soldier, then we'll help you develop a strategy for
Yes.
more, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
2008, my family's health insurance was $7,200 a year.
Tell them you'll take that again.
And now, after everything was supposed to be better and cheaper, I guess I'm not middle class. It cost me in the county, for the same basic coverage, it costs to be in the county $22,000 a year.
Yeah,
It's just like,
it's crazy.
yeah.
And I'll say this, I guess I'm kind of dependent on my wife too, but everybody blames the insurance company.
Yep.
It isn't the insurance companies. It's the way we have allowed our health. Like we'll go to the doctor for sniffles.
It's the 5-pack of screws that they use one and you get to pay for all 5.
We're true entrepreneurial at the provider level, right?
I've got a family that's had 13 surgeries and somewhere in the mid-20s on the emergency room visits. None of it's for me,
Right.
but it's just like, well, my wife
paramedics and the ambulance crew heading is emergencies. Well, she's watching.
Hi, honey.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
The sheriff's waiting out front, I hope it's not for me.
It is, I called it. Hey.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to meet you. I will, I'll tell him hi, yeah, I'll see him, we're actually going down,
Good to see you, Terry. It's been a while.
questions. We're actually going down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good to see you.
I know, you know what?
We got seats to.
Growing up, growing up, everybody thought we were twins, and when we were little, my mom dressed us the same. Very nice to meet you, sir. Yeah, so I'll be somewhere, you know, you can call me if you have any questions. So I don't know if you're familiar with what. Questions. Hey, I saw your sister playing.
Nice to meet you,
I'm like,
and-
I haven't played. It's like, that was Lexi. I'm like, she's my cousin,
Yeah.
but you hear the last name and, yeah, so.
Yes.
It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Guys, take care.
Nice to meet you.
Give you a card,
you.
yeah, so we'll be in touch, thank you.
How many years are apart between you two?
So there's 4 of us. So it's me, Brooke, she's 2 years younger than me. There's a 4-year gap, then there's Ashley, who's a senior, and then Colby, who's
I was gonna say,
8 years younger.
So there's one that looks
Take care,
like you
folks.
that's
Thank
in
you.
school now.
Yup,
I see that one, so.
but they're all taller.
Yeah.
I got the person that sit there.
Brooke isn't much taller.
Yeah, she's about 5'6". So.
Oh, yeah, you would know her.
You guys, good to see ya. You do. I thought I recognized you vaguely, right? Yeah.
I've been on the bus on the way to volleyball.
I sat down. I was like, yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah. So thank
Thank you,
guys.
Anyways,
Thank you guys.
thank you for muddying up the water.
Yeah.
You're on.
Well, I thought I knew which one I wanted before, now I have no idea.
So the one question I had for you was, did you look at their software that they offered in there that the HR would use?
In the packets,
Yeah.
I know,
I glanced at it, I didn't
Is
really,
it anything
2 of
similar to what
them
we?
waiving extradition, one to Ohio, one to
one of these
Minnesota.
right now is just that
Is that right?
this one. So, I would guess that they're probably all.
What's that?
They're the one where they're wanted for more.
I guess that's where the references
The
will
little-
tell you.
Little gal that got out
Mhm.
here, right, when I was sure she
Yeah.
was here, what'd she do?
Burglary second and aiding and abetting.
She didn't look like she could fight her way out of a wet paper bag, she's so little, but
She was going up to Duluth.
oh, to Duluth, yeah.
I was reading that paper, there was one that was convicted just recently. What was that about, the, Todd Spooner, what did he do?
I think, I don't know this for sure, but I think he sold a car or too many
Fraudulent practices.
prior, without a dealership license.
Okay.
I think that's what I was told.
Well, they're really keeping track of that now.
Yeah.
Making sure you don't have too many liens on the same vehicle.
There's just so many comments I'd love to make in light of looking at these pictures, but I don't dare.
So did somebody want to go through that old building?
She didn't call.
She didn't call? Okay.
Yeah, I told her at 11 o'clock, so, to be here, so she's not here, so.
Okey-doke.
Shoot. Yeah, I forgot all about it.
Yeah.
What's the most important fact that you want in the county attorney?
Somebody who's available and somebody who doesn't. I hate plea bargains. I don't mind plea bargains if they talk it over with the officers and have a working agreement with the officers, but we've had county attorneys in the past that the officers write a ticket and they plea bargain it off and it's gone and the officer has no idea that, I think the officer has a lot of input into, when the arrest was made and how the arrest was made and yada, 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 and
Put that up to it.
and sometimes the county attorneys don't care about any of that.
Adam's been pretty good at that.
Adam's been awesome. Yep. Yep.
So how do we get that out of the 2 candidates?
I don't know that, because they're gonna tell you whatever you wanna hear. You know it, and I know it.
Well, you work with people that work with Kelsey like this.
Well, the thing I like about Kelsey, And I don't know this other guy from Adam, but the thing about Kelsey is, we're not gonna be doing this again in 6 years or 8 years or 10 years.
She's a long-term
Unless
Winnebago
she
resident.
takes a judge thing.
Well, yeah.
Well, that would be the only way, but that's not gonna happen either, because that's very few and far in between. That just doesn't happen, and that's why Adam jumped at this,
Adam was
because.
there at the right time.
Yep.
Because somebody died.
Yep. And now, all the
You didn't know
judges,
this guy from Adam, and there was a pun intended there, right?
there was not.
Well, it could have been.
But, the judges we have now are all relatively young guys and gals, and I don't see any of them leaving unless we have a misfortune.
Further up the judge world.
Yeah,
But then you gotta start thinking about uprooting yourself too, so, I would imagine.
so.
So give me an example of what would be, not right in your opinion as to plea bargaining.
I'm not against plea bargains.
No.
But like I said, they need to talk to the officer. They need to get some input from the officer, just so, we've had people that.
What they saw in court isn't what the officer saw.
Right, or had to deal with.
Let's say you catch me with I don't know, the grams or whatever, even if it's whatever ounces. You catch me with just on the fringe of being, a dealer or supplier, I don't know what you call that. But, and so, and he wants to plea bargain and you don't. What would go into that? What would you factor into that?
Well, investigation-wise, how much time is tied up into it, how many hours, that you have tied up into it, things like that. If you caught somebody on the street just making a traffic stop, and these guys will say, I don't know whose drugs it was, or this is the first time I've ever done that. And nobody ever gets caught the first time they ever did. You know what I'm saying? It just, but again, I don't think the guys are opposed to plea bargains. They just want to have some input into it, and I think that's important.
Would you and your officers look at the past history? I mean, for the most part, and your guys are getting better. They've gone, and so you brought up earlier, everybody in the county, but the deputies don't, and they wouldn't.
Yep.
But as they do get to know all these situations, does that factors into it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you said, past history. We do, if somebody just moves into the area and we do criminal backgrounds, we'll check with whatever county they came from or whatever city they came from and get some, history that way. There's just a lot of different things that we can do. And it's just not right for somebody that's never met the guy, never done any background, to just say, we're going to plea bargain. Like I said, the guys aren't opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it, but I think there needs to be some input.
I agree with that. I think the plea bargains are way too damn easy.
Yeah.
Nobody learns their lesson.
Right, yeah.
And especially if they were smug and smartass and rude and all that stuff during the arrest and up to the court.
Well, there's
get to see that part. They always go in there and act real nice.
Yeah, and they got their Sunday best on and yada, yada, yada. And
not always, though.
There was a gal, it was in the Mason City paper the last couple of days. Are we in recording?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, it was in the paper, and she took an Alford plea, and they gave her. She's not pleading guilty, but she says there's enough evidence there to be found guilty. So she is.
I've always thought that was a weird plea.
It is a weird plea, but anyway, the things that she did to a 3 or 4 year old kid, and she got a suspended sentence for it. I don't know if that was a plea bargain or not, but.
She's been on KFG News too.
Yeah, and it should never ever have happened when you got a 3 or 4 year old victim. That just that is not right ever.
Yeah, I can't understand that whole thought process over there.
No, that is never right.
Was that magistrate or was that
district court?
District court. District court.
Well, the other
Should
guy.
Are we done with open forum?
Should I print those references and we just call them now?
I personally put no stock in references, but they wouldn't put a reference down if they weren't
gonna toot their horn.
I think it's more, if you wanna call somebody and see how their process works for the HR or how their working relationship with, ask them questions as you work with them.
Not that I don't want to put anything into it, I had
Call
never.
another auditor that deals with True North, call, and like Hancock deals with, Cottingham, just call some auditors and just see how the whole process has been for them dealing with them. And that would be huge as far as I'm concerned, because that's real life experience there that you can get from someone else, a third party interest. And,
My initial interpretation of how they presented themselves was, I thought Sarah and the guy were equal in their, they were ready with the answers. Yeah,
Kyle was
and not to discount Kyle, I mean, he was good too, but it seemed
he
like
was
it
a
was
little
more
reserved, and then he just kind of let them take over the conversation after a while.
And
Which doesn't mean he can't do a good job.
It's just personality, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I saw them all sit down and think, well, it may be a disadvantage for them to be in the back row, but they were still forthcoming. I don't know.
The two associates were a little timid, in my opinion.
Nikki and Brittany were both very quiet.
Yeah,
But they are,
well, they'll be the ones we work with.
so they don't necessarily need to, they just have to be able to do their jobs. Don't need to be great public speakers or whatever, I guess. The other two were obviously,
It wasn't so much their place, I think.
And I met the other guy that works with that Jim, very nice guy. Ben from Winnebago County called me when he found out that he was gonna, and just said, we work with them, they're wonderful.
Is that group design? Which
The
back row or from?
back row.
Okay, yeah, be group design, but.
So, I don't mean to interrupt. If that person calls, whoever she may be, he may be, wants to see that building, just give me a call.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys.
thanks, Dave.
Well, I don't know if this means anything, but Laura read through these all, and she said it really doesn't make a huge difference if you're gonna go by price. She thought we should go with group benefit partners, but.
Well, that's where I want to get confirmed what their fees are.
So-
It seemed a little murky.
Yeah, so I will send them out that thing and ask for what their fees would be according to what that is. And then, and then I'll call the references, and then, do you want me to just email you or call you all, or what do you want me to do?
Whatever's easiest.
Okay. I'll just email you what I heard from each company.
There wasn't a big difference between them fee-wise, what they had in their proposals, but, the difference will come in which one can deal with the carrier or whatever best, Wellmark or United Healthcare or whatever it's, and what kind of a program they design for us, I guess, as far as.
And make no mistake, some agent brokers,
Are better
yeah,
than
brokers, I should say only, have a better rapport with some actuaries than others. I really do. So, and it makes a difference with those guys.
It sounded like their percentages were all similar, who they work with too, so.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Gonna be a tough decision.
No doubt.
Yeah.